Good evening, everyone. My name is Gopal Krishna Anand, Associate Editor of Thermal Control Magazine. I welcome you to the Thermal Control Magazine's interactive session on Building on India Cooling Action Plan 2023. I have my colleague Darshana, editorial, Thermal Control Magazine, to introduce the panelists and tell you more about this interactive session. I welcome Ms. Darshana to moderate the session.
Thank you, Mr. Gopal. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Thermal Control Magazine's interactive session on Building on India Cooling Action Plan 2023. India is the first country to develop a cooling action plan based on energy efficiency and thermal comfort. ICAP has placed India on international radar and garnered interest in supporting global momentum for creating national cooling action plan. ICAP is aimed to see the impact across residential and commercial buildings, cold chain, refrigeration, transport, and industry sectors. Towards promoting passive cooling in buildings, the Bureau of Energy Efficiency had brought out ECBC code for all commercial buildings and Eco-Niwas Samhita, ECBC-R for residential buildings. On this note, Thermal Control Business Update will host an interactive session cum conference on Building on India Cooling Action Plan 2023. During this 90-minute session, industry experts will discuss sustainable cooling, low GWP refrigerant, PCM usage for specific cooling, RAC services, technician skilling, and reducing cooling energy aligned with economy's growth. The experts will discuss advancing cooling technologies, ECBC, and smart cooling plan. It's an honor and privilege for me to introduce you to today's distinguished speakers, Mr. Dipankar Bhattacharya, Country General Manager, India at DB-Aire India Private Limited, Ms. Shruti Gupta, YEA, Young Engineers Association Chair at ASHRAE India Chapter, Mr. Kushagra Juneja, Managing Partner at Design to Occupancy Services LLP.
Ms. Shruti, asking about what are your views about how can India's cooling action plan be helpful for the reduction of cooling demand?
India's cooling action plan will be helpful with overall reduction in the cooling demand because it specifically talks about, the reduction in the demand from a cooling perspective, number one. Then the refrigerant demand also we foresee for a 20-year perspective, and the energy requirement from cooling front. So all of this can be then further broken down to a level which is on the ministry level, then on the state designated agency level for having policy and framework, as very well said by Kushagraji in all the details that he mentioned about policy implementation. And at that level, when it gets absorbed, the horizon for 20 years will be great because within the time period when it's penetrating in the market, we'll be able to curb its growth and curb its absorption rates. And I would like Kushagra to add upon this and enlighten us because of his vast experience in the energy efficiency field specifically.
I think the action plan is more like a framework that highlights, what are the key areas that should be targeted. And as a part of those targets, like one of the examples is that, under the National Skill Program, technicians need to be trained. So though BE is doing it bit by skilling, so I think as far as skilling from different departments is concerned, the skilling under the NSDC scheme will be far more effective. So I think what needs to be done is specified in the action plan. Now it is up to the different agencies, different stakeholders to pick that action plan, pick up those aspects. And like I mentioned that, a star labeling program is being developed for cold storages, etc. Some star labeling scheme is being developed for newer air conditioning systems. So all these things are a part of the implementation of the action plan. Action plan itself is not going to bring any saving, but the pathway or the roadmap that it creates for the entire country to follow and what are the key areas, I think that would be the contribution of this action plan, or I think any action plan that comes up.
Definitely, Mr. Kushagra. ICAP is a plan India is focusing on reducing cooling and introducing efficiency. Mr. Dipankar, you are discussing about India Cooling Action Plan. So how it can be helpful for reduction of cooling demand?
See, I think India Cooling Action Plan and the reduction, they kind of both sound like an oxymoron. It is the cooling action plan, the way it has been projected is the increase in cooling demand in next 20 years. In 2017, it was introduced. But it also talks about how we can probably make it more sustainable? How we can make it in a way whereas on the one side the demand side is increasing, for that though there is a heightened power consumption that is happening, but also at the same time we are delivering the cooling in an efficient manner, in a sustainable manner, so that it creates less impact to the environment in terms of energy consumption, in terms of greenhouse gas emissions. So that is how it is. So I think the broad perspective of India Cooling Action Plan is that, and I already touched upon three elements that are important. I would like to reiterate that the building or the environment, the building space, the cooling space that are getting developed, it has to be sustainable. There are no two ways about it. The space that we are building, the design that you are adopting, the building material that you are getting into, the controls that we put in place, the systems that we put in place, they need to be done in the most efficient manner possible to be able to reduce the cooling demand, cooling requirement of a building. That is one of the most important prerequisite that we have towards reducing the cooling demand. The second important factor is obviously how industry responds to the ever-growing, need of cooling in the building space, and offers equipment which is in line with the codes and standards that are available, or offers in line with the best efficiency that can be made available. What is important is the promoters of the building owners, they also need to take a step ahead in terms of ensuring the right equipment go into the building, because if that does not happen, if they don't adopt the newer technologies, the right technologies, the efficient technologies, then obviously, the energy efficiency level will not go up. Government is doing their bit in terms of introducing codes and standards, right kind of yardstick for building efficiency. But I think the building designers, the building owners, the promoters, they need to take a step forward, and they need to, increase their standard in terms of the capital equipment purchase when they're taking a decision. It cannot be only on the first cost. There has to be an element of life cycle cost that needs to be brought in while making the decision. And then third element is of course the transition of the refrigerant that is happening. So what we are seeing over the next and what we'll probably witness in next over 10-15 years is how we are adopting the new age refrigerant, the green refrigerant, the HFO based refrigerant that has got not only the least global warming potential and ozone depleting potential, but also at the same time they are more efficient than HFC refrigerants. So these are the three key factors in case we were to keep pace with the rapid urbanization that is happening, the rapid growth in the building industry segment that is happening, but also at the same time offering high energy efficiency equipment, ensuring the consumption in the conditioned space, the energy consumption in conditioned space is coming down.
Thank you very much for the feedback. The cooling demand is increasing and ICAP provides insights into the future, rightly said. So coming to Shruti, what technology measures must be adopted for India Cooling Action Plan to lead to sustainable cooling?
I have put much emphasis during the entire conversation on various aspects of infrastructure as a sector, but I would like to give remarks on agriculture as a sector, because primarily Bharat ek krishi pradhan desh hai. So the kind of horizon it has given to Indian farmers with respect to the local supply chain for cold chain preserved fresh fruits and vegetables, seasonal, and even availability of these fruits and vegetables off season. So many varieties of fruits which were not even native to India have been curated, have been grown in the country now, and they are getting transferred not just to metro cities and tier 1 cities. I can find them in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. So I think that is where we are deriving the benefits of using it to maximum potential, getting the best out of it for various sectors, various segments, and making sure that there is minimal wastage for fresh production. This is just one step that I'm discussing. Similarly, parallel to this across various sectors, there will be so many examples that we can quote.
Definitely. And agriculture, that has to be a focus for India to go ahead. So, Mr. Kushagra, what is the way forward for HVAC industry and cooling agencies to follow ICAP plan?
I think the cooling agencies already there's a lot of technology shift that is being proposed. I know a couple of companies that are doing indirect cooling, which was earlier, a very rare thing. Chilled beams is another thing that was initially criticized a lot, especially in the composite climate and warm and humid climates. But now I'm seeing increasingly, though people face problems still, because I think more companies are still needed so that the penetration is deeper, but chilled beams are again being used in a lot of applications. So there are a lot of, and in fact, I've seen people innovating with their RCC final roof, where they have put in pipes and a miniature pump embedded in the RCC structure, and the water circulates just to keep the roof cool without actually putting in insulation. So people do innovate. I think the large scale adoption of such technologies, such innovations is very much required. And Shruti mentioned agriculture. So I think you must have seen a lot of agricultural innovations that have happened in our country. So we are a country of entrepreneurs. We are a country of a lot of brains. So I think those innovations are already in the market, available commercially. A lot of times the challenge is that the commercial availability is an issue, or quality is an issue. But I think commercial availability is there. I think we as users, we as citizens need to start adopting those technologies. I think ESL was there, the Energy Efficiency Services Limited, which started selling 5Cs on their portal, the web portal, which was a Voltas make split conditioner, primarily targeted towards home users, and a 1.5 ton 5-star was being sold at 32,000 like 3 years before. So that's still in place. So a lot of these initiatives are already there, and I think if we know them, if we come across such technologies, we should try to be the first users. And I think the difference between Bangalore and the rest of the country is that you see a lot of startups in Bangalore because there are a lot of first users. You see a lot of apps succeeding because there are a lot of first users. So in terms of cooling, I think to do our bit, and obviously even for the technology providers and the cooling companies, we should start pushing new technologies, and we should start pushing more efficient things in the market more aggressively.
Yeah, definitely, Mr. Kushagra. The shift in HVAC industry is must now. Mr. Dipankar, my question to you was, what approach should be adopted for training and certifications of around 1 lakh servicing sector technicians? This is one of the motto of ICAP.
Yeah, so this is a very relevant topic, because I think we are specifically concerned about the modern technologies that are being adopted in the system, be it in terms of the compressors that are being offered, or let's say the control system that are being offered, or refrigerant. And as we know, if we go by the ASHRAE categorization of refrigerant, that some of the refrigerants that are being adopted would fall into typically A2L category, which is mildly flammable. So it is very, very important that the level of technicians are upgraded. They are brought up to speed in terms of understanding what these new technologies are, how they should be handled, what should be the safe mechanism by which they should be handling a system. They should be maybe commissioning a system, or they should be servicing a system. And for that, what is important is the skilling program. It has to be a combination of or a joint effort between government and the industry. The industry leaders should come together and join hands with government in terms of ensuring that we create hubs around all the regions to train the technicians to be able to handle the new age refrigerant or new age system. Whatever changes are happening, that changes is for better only, and we should support it. But also we'll have to ensure that the customer side of it do not suffer, because if a system is not being properly handled and not being properly serviced or not being properly maintained, they will not deliver the desired efficiency level. So, of course, I think if the industry leaders come together, I don't see any challenge in that. There is some initiative already being taken about government on this. I'm not too sure on that, but maybe other speakers can highlight in terms of what is the initiatives that are being taken to ensure that the technician level, the working class in the industry are also brought up to speed to be able to handle the system.
Obviously, the government and the Skill India mission and other initiatives, we should be able to train the servicing sector technicians for the upcoming shift in the industry. So thank you, panelists, for exchanging your valuable thoughts on today's Building on India Cooling Action Plan 2023. We hope you enjoyed the session thoroughly. Before wrapping up today's session, we would like to thank our distinguished panelists, Mr. Kushagra Zuneja, Ms. Shruti Gupta, and Mr. Dipankar Bhattacharya. We request all our delegates and viewers to stay connected with our social media handles. Before wrapping up the session, may I request Ms. Shruti to give closing remarks.
On this note, I would request all the participants, especially who are youngsters and who are students, to be associated with the media house. And it is a great platform. You will see a plethora of such discussions. It is the second time I'm getting associated with them for one such discussion. And I would say, keep updating, keep reading. And with respect to whatever, the government is taking into consideration, yes, I'm sure we are looking forward to a better future. And with, practitioners like Kushagra ji and Dipankar ji in the industry who had this vision long back and dedicatedly worked in this direction, especially when there were no such provisions also. From talking from policy and framework point of view, I think Kushagra ji has done some remarkable work in establishing this framework. So kudos to that. And thanks to all of you for participating with us today.
I request Darshana to close the session, please.
Thank you, panelists, for exchanging your valuable thoughts on today's Building on India Cooling Action Plan 2023. We hope you enjoyed the session thoroughly. Before wrapping up today's session, we would like to thank our distinguished panelists, Mr. Dipankar Bhattacharya, Ms. Shruti Gupta, and Mr. Kushagra Juneja. I would also like to thank Mr. Gopal Anand for taking this initiative. We request that delegates and viewers to stay connected with us on our social media handles. Thermal Control Magazine is available on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also download our app from Google App and App Store. With this, we want to announce the closing of today's session. Request you to stay tuned for more such sessions. Thank you and goodbye.